So far this NHL season, there have been many negatives and things that just have not gone the New York Rangers' way. And as a whole, you could definitely say it has been a pretty disastrous season for this franchise. But in today's video, we're going to take a look at some of the positives that have come from this season. Now, I'm not saying it's been a good season for this franchise or there have been a ton of great things that have happened, but there are a few positives that you could take from this season with where this team is at right now. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at some of those positives there and kind of talk about them and really see kind of what we can take from this season that is actually good, because obviously with where this team is at, kind of the expectations going into this season there, it has been a complete disappointment. This team is not going to make playoffs. They're on the outside looking in, and obviously, don't have the brightest future in the world. Obviously, there are many teams around the league with a much brighter future. Is the Rangers' future the worst in the league? By no means, but obviously, it's not the best future. This team is not in a spot to kind of really win now, and going into this offseason, we're potentially going to see a bunch more changes happen. So let's take a look, though, at some of the kind of positives that can be taken from this season here and some of the good things that happened for the New York Rangers. So let's start off here by talking about a few really nice moves that happened there. One being the one that happened before this season actually started there back in the summer, and that is Barclay Goodrow getting waived. Now, if you want to count that a part of this season or not, that's up to you. But this past offseason there, right before the season started, the Rangers were able to get off of that pretty brutal contract there that Barclay Goodrow had for absolutely nothing, waiving him. So I think that, first off, there is a pretty decent positive, although it was not actually during the season there. Then you've got, a trade like that Jacob Trouba trade, which I think was quite phenomenal there. I definitely haven't loved every single trade that Chris Drury has made, so far this season, but I think that one was quite phenomenal there. You got back a draft pick. You also got back a, serviceable kind of depth defenseman there, a 6/7 guy in Urho Vakanainen, alongside getting off that terrible, massive $8 million contract that also is under contract there, on the books for next season as well. So I think getting off that contract there for nothing, not having to give up anything, was quite phenomenal. So there's another positive you could say for this team from this season there. And obviously that was a pretty good trade by Chris Drury getting off the captain there. Then obviously you've got some other trades that happened there. The Kakko trade, getting Will Borgen back and a couple draft picks, a third and a sixth round pick. Don't absolutely love that trade, especially with how kind of Kakko's done there. And obviously, it's not to say he was going to do this with, this Rangers team if he stayed here, but I just kind of always thought he could be that maybe 40, 50-point kind of guy while playing a pretty good two-way game on the wing there. He's still quite young, still has some potential, still has a lot of room to grow. So obviously, I don't necessarily love the trade, but getting back a kind of low-tier second-pairing defenseman, a really kind of high-tier third-pairing defenseman, being a right-handed guy there, not being too old. Again, also getting back a third and a sixth-round pick. It's not the worst trade in the world. It's really not, but I just kind of hope that we could see a little more out of a guy like Kakko, obviously, with this team. But with him being traded away, I think the Rangers got back some decent value. And there are definitely some other positives to take from some of the trades that have been made so far this season as well from the Rangers, like acquiring a guy like JT Miller alongside prospect Jackson Dorrington and Eric Brandstrom, who got flipped for Obey Kubela at depth forward. Obviously, that made much of an impact, but acquiring two solid pieces there. One in JT Miller, a true kind of star kind of player there, a true kind of number one kind of centerman. I think that was a very nice pickup there, especially acquiring the defenseman Jackson Dorrington, a prospect there, kind of swapping him and Mancini there. Not too much of a value difference there, so that's kind of fine, but obviously giving up Filipino there alongside that first round pick for pretty much JT Miller. That's a decent size, trade there, obviously. But I think when you consider all the concussion problems that, Filipino has had in the past and is already, enduring right now with the Canucks, as he has missed quite a bit of time this season already with concussion and kind of upper body injury there. So I think getting off Filipino there, giving up a first-round pick, it's not ideal, but considering what this team got back and with the injury concerns with Filipino, I think that was a pretty great trade. If the injury concerns weren't there for Hedl, this trade is a little different, but I still would probably do it, obviously. I'm just saying with the injury concerns, that's why I kind of think this was an amazing trade by this Rangers team. I like Filipino a lot. I think he's been a great player for this team for quite a while, but I think it was time to move on there to cash in on some value, for Filipino there with those major issues, because as much as I want to see Filipino have that nice long career, it just might not happen there with those concussion problems there, with the health kind of issues and kind of risks there. So Obviously, it's not great for Hedel there, but trading him away, cashing in on some value, and trading away that first-round pick to get back someone like a JT, a true kind of star caliber player, I think was a pretty good move by Chris Drury. You also saw some other trades happen there, like that Ryan Lindgren deal, which saw him kind of get dealt away over to the Avs there. That also just kind of helped, switch the core group of players up there, which I think was something that was absolutely needed. Getting off of guys like Barclay Gaudreau, Jacob Trouba, Capo Caco, Ryan Lindgren, Filip Hedel, whether or not you think all those trades were great or not, at least Chris Drury is attempting to switch up this core. Now, obviously, there are still some other kind of core players on this team that some fans definitely don't want to see on this team for next season there. Guys like Keandre Miller, maybe a Chris Kreider, maybe a Mika Zibanejad. I think, Kreider and Miller there, Keandre Miller are two likely kind of candidates to get dealt away, I think. But obviously, a guy like Mika Zibanejad, since going to the wing, has been a lot better there as of late, has been producing quite well offensively. I understand he's not going to earn that contract fully, but I think keeping him in a role on the wing there with how he's going to play at least kind of makes up for some of that kind of failure that he's kind of had with this team over the last little while, obviously. But I think in general there, with him going to the wing, it's not going to fix that contract, not going to make it look perfect, but I think with him going to the wing there, he definitely has started to earn more of that deal, which is good for this team, as he pretty much does have an immovable contract there with having that full no trade clause. But one player who I think has done a phenomenal job this season is Will Cooley. This is someone who I think has taken a big step up from last season there. He almost has the exact same amount of games played as last season there, but has, double the points, which is pretty incredible there. So he has clearly taken a pretty massive step up in his game offensively, while also, I think, doing so in his all-around game. He's even more physical this season, which is great to see. He's having, quite a few more hits there, almost about 50 more hits in the exact same amount of games played. So he's doing pretty good in the physicality department there, taking a step up. He's gotten better offensively. He's gotten better in his all-around game defensively as well. I think has just gotten better in pretty much all areas of his game, which is exactly what you want to see from a young guy there who is still, only 23 years old, just turned 23 in February there. He's still a young player, still has a lot of room to grow and a lot of potential, I think, while being, 6'3", a pretty great skater for his size. I think overall, not a bad player, just an all-around, really good guy, I think. And having this player on your team long-term with that physicality, with that offensive talent, I definitely think will bring this team a lot of success potentially down the road, and is the exact kind of, molded player this team definitely needs more of. So I think obviously Will Cooley can have that big breakout is definitely a pretty big positive and a pretty big bright spot for this team. And of course, another bright spot I would say from this season has been the Rangers' fourth line. I think we've really kind of seen, Sam Carrick, for example, in his first season with this Rangers team after signing a 3-year deal worth $1 million per season in this past offseason, I think has really done a great job there, manning that fourth line there, being that fourth line center. And also, here and there, he had to kind of take a step up there to be that third line center for a few games, the odd time. So I think he also did a pretty good job there. He's put up a decent amount of points for a fourth line center. Hasn't done too bad there. He's a good face-off taker, not too bad there at all. He's definitely a very physical player. So I think overall is the perfect kind of fourth line center and has done a pretty great job with this team this season. Then you've got a guy like Matt Rempe, when he's been in the lineup there and he's been healthy. Same thing with Edstrom there. I think they've done a great job on that fourth line, being two, young guys who can play pretty much both wings there. Edstrom can play a bit of center there as well if he has to, but two versatile kind of young forwards there who are going to be, fourth line players for the most part there. I think Edstrom could maybe be a bottom six guy going forward, but Rempe's me a fourth line guy. Edstrom for sure a bottom six guy, but I think they both have the potential to be very good and kind of key and successful kind of, fourth line players. I don't think they're going to be much more than that, but they can definitely do a really good job and fill a really good kind of role there in that fourth line. So I'm very happy with kind of what they've done. So I think overall, the fourth line's been great this season there, even with guys like, obviously Vesey didn't have the best season with the Rangers when he was here, but I think he had a few good games here and there. A guy like Brodzinski, when he's been on that fourth line, he's been pretty good. So overall, I think this team has had a pretty good fourth line there. I think there's been some good trades made this season there to kind of shift this team in a different direction, which is kind of what was needed. So there are some good, some bad things from this season there, but obviously a lot more bad, unfortunately. But there is still hope that this team can definitely turn things around going forward into the future. Anyways, that's going to do it for today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content. And as always, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on today's video. What are your thoughts on some of the positive and some of the kind of good things that have come from this season there? Obviously, there haven't been a ton of them, but there have been a few kind of positive / good things that have happened for this Rangers team. A lot more bad, but still some positive. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'll catch you next one, and let's go Rangers.